Jill, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us about your incredible work. I am sorry to say that I put off bringing in Rowe Casa for a long time. We kept getting asked, bring it. What about this? What about that? And I was like,
Right.
well, yeah, it's cool. That's great stuff. And then finally did, and it has been incredible. So I would
Great.
love to know how you got started and why is this a big deal?
Well, I tell everybody it was a business I did not mean to start. I was a speech therapist for 15 years, worked with children. I owned a tutoring company. So I had a lot going on when Rowe Casa blew up on me. Did not intend to have a business, but really just started getting concerned about my health. I was burdened for my own health. I was sick a lot. My kids were sick a lot, just with sinus infections and allergies, and we just dealt with things. The kids I worked with, I noticed were always sick, and I just kept thinking to myself, "There's got to be more to this. Like everyone is sick around me. I'm sick. Tired of. I just kind of got tired of being sick." So I kind of just took matters into my own hands, started doing a little research. My sister, who has joined me since we've started, she was already kind of years ahead on her health journey with some health issues she had and was walking through just healing her body with a naturopath. So she was kind of throwing some things at me and I would kind of laugh at her. She would say, "You need to get rid of the false fragrance." And I was the Scentsy queen, like thought she was going off her rocker. So this has really progressed quickly. But I was listening, and so I actually had a friend on Facebook post a recipe for elderberry syrup. And I was like, that's interesting. And she listed all of the health benefits, and I was like, I think I need that. So I don't cook. This is what's so funny. I don't enjoy cooking. And so the fact that this started with me making elderberry syrup in my own kitchen, we laugh about that all the time because I don't enjoy being in the kitchen. Um, but I had gone to our local health food store, which we have limited options here in Texarkana, and looked at the elderberry syrups that were available on the shelf. And I'm glad that I thought I turned it around, looked at the label, and I was like, I don't like what's in here. I think I can do better. Like there's a bunch of stuff in here that I don't like. So I was like, that's it. I'll just order the ingredients and I'll learn how to make it myself. And I did. I ordered all of my ingredients. I laugh because the ingredients literally sat on my kitchen table for months before I even got around to making it. And I looked over one day, I was like, I'm going to make elderberry syrup today. And I did. And I got real excited about it because the more I researched it, I was like, this is going to be helpful. I really feel hopeful about this one little health change I'm about to make. And so I made the elderberry syrup. We started taking it, and within weeks, stopped getting sick. It was just, we felt so much better. My kids quit. I quit getting calls from school, having to go get them, all the things parents have to deal with. And I was like, whoa, I made this one health change and it did this much for my family. So I told all of Facebook, every time I would make it, I would tell Facebook, hey, I've got a few spare jars. Does anybody want some? And all of a sudden it was like my whole community rallied around what I was doing. And I would share, I love to share about what I'm learning. So I would share about what I was learning about each ingredient and the health benefits of it all. And I got really excited about it. And it was just like the whole community rallied around it. And it got so much, like I traveled around and saw kids in their homes and daycare. So I would take an ice chest with me with my elderberry syrup because all the parents were buying it from me. And then it got, the demand was so high, I would have local pickups. Like they would be in I would have pickup times after work where they would just line up in my driveway. And I thought, there's no telling what my neighbors think at this point because I'm running out with my little jar of something and they're hanging out their $20 bills out the window. So it really grew fast. And I thought, if this one little health change can make this big of a difference, so I get it, all these, all of the people that were buying it, they were seeing huge differences in their lives. And so I was like, whoa, okay, I'm on to something. So what else can I make? And so it just went from there. It was elderberry syrup, and then it was hair spritz. I'm real into the, I want natural stuff for the face, and I was the eyelash serum and hair spritz. Everything I was like, I'm going to make everything. I need, once I realized everything on the shelf was pretty toxic that I was using and buying, I was like, this is a huge problem and I've got to fix it. And it was literally just for my family, but the whole community had rallied around it. And then everything I made, they wanted. So that's how Rowe Casa started. I jokingly called it Rowe Casa Organics because it just flowed and really didn't even mean to make a name for a business. And so I just went with it. And that's how it got started, was just the community demand and the word of mouth spread. And then I was on a mission. I was like, I'm getting to make, these big changes. Like, I was mad. I was really angry when I realized how much I had been deceived as a consumer. And then there was no stopping it then. once I realized there's that big of a problem, I was like, okay, now I need a replacement for everything I use. So
There's a
that's
big,
where Robots came from.
yeah, I love it. I love it. There's a big problem. There's a big need, and I think that
Huge.
trying to find a solution for ourselves, when
Right.
it's genuine, right? Like when it comes from a place of how do we make money first, like it doesn't have this
Right.
feel. I don't believe, like
Right.
if we're solving a problem for our loved ones, and then we can share that with
Yes.
others, right? Like that's
Right.
that's how I feel like we've grown, right? Like this is
Right.
solutions that we want to learn about and
Yes.
provide. So, what made you realize that? Yeah, the stuff in the store is pretty gnarly. We got a lot of health issues going on, and the products we use have got to be looked at.
I think just paying attention to the labels, learning to think for myself, which I think most of America has forgotten to do. It's like we just trust the powers that be, and we aren't learning to just think for ourselves. And the more I got into health, the more I would research, I realized it was about the bottom dollar. And that is something Rowe Casa does not, I mean, we're frugal with the way we run our business, but I tell them, I don't care if we have to pay double the amount to get the highest quality, because I'm using this with me and my family. I don't want to sacrifice quality for the money. This was never about the money for us. It was really literally about saving our health and then solving a problem that existed on a bigger scale once I realized and started studying. So really just reading labels, researching those ingredients, realizing the shortcuts companies are making just to save money. I mean, really, it was just about that. And realizing, I used to question, as a little girl. It's funny, it's kind of a full circle thing, because as a little girl, I used to walk to the grocery store and look at the junk food aisle. And I knew that there was an FDA, which is so weird that I even thought about that as a child. But I was like, there's people that are supposed to be protecting me, but they sell me cookies. And they say that's not good for you. So I couldn't understand what was the what was the disconnect here. And there's sodas, and those are legal for me to buy. I
Yeah.
couldn't understand why, if they were looking out for my health, why was this allowed? Even as a little child, I thought about that. I watched my mom also pill for every ill. We grew up that way. Pill for every ill. The doctors had all the answers. They were like God. And yet we were so sick as a family. And so all of that just kind of came full circle when I actually started paying attention and realizing there is a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do something about it. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah, wisdom definitely comes from the wound. So unfortunately, for too many of
Mhm.
us, we have to like walk the path. We have to have the
Yes.
struggles and the adversity for the desire to make a change. And so,
Right.
what what I've seen with your products that I've been super impressed with are like the sinus stuff. So many people,
Mhm.
because we're just getting out of that kind of that allergy season.
We
Not
are.
everybody's getting out of it, but
I
that's
know.
that seems really uh, important to know about what you're spraying up your nose, maybe, and then what's
Uh-huh.
running down
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
throat.
Kind of
So
important.
how did you, let's use that as kind of like the archetype of what we're talking about. How do you decide what to use and how to source it and put it together in a product that, people trust you to use?
In the beginning, it was just realizing it's been a beautiful thing to watch, because having a relationship with God and trusting that He gives us what we need to heal, and He kind of knew what we needed from day one, and we've just gotten so far away from that. It was like, as a Christian, I started putting all of this knowledge and research together with my relationship with the Lord, and I was like, whoa, He knew, like, there's these plants, why aren't we using that? That's what our ancestors used to use. We've gotten so far away from that, and as men have decided we can do it better in a lab. And I just think most of the time the plant, and that's how, I mean, most of our products are completely plant-based, natural. Is the goal is to it include everything, any and everything. When I start researching, I'm like, I'm writing down, okay, this ingredient, that ingredient, that I want this in my nose spray, I want that. I mean, when I'm trying to develop a product, of course, now I have a whole team who helps me with that and what works well together synergistically, all of that. But in the beginning, it was just like, okay, I want all of this in this product. How can I make this work? And then it's throwing it in together. And is it smooth? Will it spray out? I mean, does it work? It doesn't always work that way. And you have to kind of, tweak it a little bit. But that is really all it was. It was just like I had a deep trust and actually just seeing the plants and how they would heal my body. It was like, I just felt like I was onto something that we had as a society missed or gotten so far away from.
Yeah.
So that's really in the beginning how I did it. Now I've got a lot of help. I've got an organic chemist and a nutritionist, and we all work together to decide what would be better and what works well in each product. But in the beginning, it was just me throwing a bunch of plant-based ingredients and oils and whatever I could find because I was like, I am a believer. This stuff is working. So what can I throw in? I wanted it to be the best. I wanted everything in it that I could fit in it. So that's kind of how I decided it.
I love it. So what product are you maybe most proud of?
Oh, I always go back to the elderberry. The elderberry is still our number. I mean, we have over 300 products. It's still the number one top seller. What is it? I started making it and selling it in like 2017, 18, just from my home, just on my own. We became a real business in 19. So you're talking, 7, 8 years of this elderberry being, and it just has been a game changer for so many people, especially we live in a place, I'm sure you understand, in Arkansas. I mean, the allergies and the sinus thing is just a whole thing. And the fact that I started taking that and I went years without having sinus issues. And I grew up just on antibiotic after antibiotic and just always a sinus infection, always allergies. And the what I think the elderberry is always what I go back to is just probably my most proud, just being able, we worked so hard too to make it where it was shelf stable, where we could ship it in the beginning. We couldn't do that. We learned a different, like a jarring process that can preserve the ingredients so we don't have to put a bunch of harmful stuff in it. So I'm really proud of that one, that we've been able to keep the quality of that original elderberry syrup that was so life-changing for us and carry it on. And I think it shows because that's why it's the top selling product still to this day out of all those products.
People get really excited about elderberry, so I can see that.
They
It's
do.
and then you have so many options with it too. And so one
Right.
thing that I love about y'all's is I don't really see a lot of like unnecessary ingredients. Like sometimes they
Right.
feel like they because I work with a lot of supplement companies, right? And
Yeah.
I've whittled down over the years as I've learned and applied, but like it's like unnecessary things, and I don't
I agree.
understand it. So how do you keep everybody in check from just adding everything and maybe too much?
I think we just have realized through the years, simple is better. It's like, I want the ingredients that I want. I don't want to, there's no reason that, like, like when I would turn over elderberry syrups, it would be like these natural flavors they would add. I'm like, we don't have to do that. Honey tastes good. Like, it's raw, it's good for you. Like we don't have to go. I just never felt a need to add anything completely unnecessary. I would see food colorings and just, I mean, it's like, on the market today, it's just all about the way it tastes and looks. And I'm like, no, I want it to work and I
Yeah.
want it to not harm me. So it's just a completely different mindset than I think what's out there.
I love that. So, Jill, one thing that we went through that got me really question. Well, there's been stages. Let's just say that of questioning everything, right? Like I
Uh-huh.
literally question everything at this point. I had a uh, ear infection, and this was just a couple years ago, and it was really bad, and ended up having a perforated eardrum. And it's the first time that I have gone to the doctor in like a decade. All right, and I went to an urgent
Right,
care and got a
right.
Rocephin shot, a round of steroids, antibiotics, all things. Didn't touch it like at all. Did not touch
Mm,
it. So I end up going back about, I don't know, like 10 days later, and another Rocephin shot, another round of steroids, another round of antibiotics, still nothing, right? And so they were going to try to get me to ENT and figure out what's going on. And it just kind of made you realize that what babies go through or the ear infection is way
right.
worse than maybe we
Oh, yeah.
feel like it is.
Right.
Um,
Awful.
so then I happened to see a Barbara O'Neill video on an onion for your ear, right? Heating up an onion. I was like, what do I have to lose? I am absolutely miserable. Couldn't hear,
Right.
was completely lost the hearing out of my ear. And
Yes.
so I did this onion trick she did, and the next morning I could hear, and the pain was gone. And I thought,
Okay.
this is crazy, right? So
Uh-huh.
I said all that to say, like, y'all have an eardrop thing. Like, I wouldn't recommend using that for a perforated eardrum, but the ear infections, why? Go through your process of that, like, because that's something a lot of parents do, and I've written a lot about that. I think that we can head that off, but for those times that we can't, why something like an earache oil would be an option?
You know, I felt like, I mean, I'm always a proponent of avoiding antibiotics, of like prescription antibiotics if you can. I know that they're there and I'm not like anti if you have to use them, but I tell everybody I'm not anti doctors and medicine. I'm just I want to be so proactive that I never need them. That's my goal in life.
Fair, yeah,
It's like I'm glad they're there if we need it. I'm not anti it. I just don't ever want to use it because
yeah,
oftentimes it's just going to cause. So if I can heal something with a plant based something oil, plant, then I'm game for that because there's no like typically no side effects from that. Nothing else is going to hurt me long term like the pharmaceuticals. So I like that approach. So with like the earache oil and with anything else, it's just like what can a give you immediate relief, and then B what can heal it over time as you use it. And that was the thought process that went into that earache oil was we need something. I mean, earaches are pretty common among kids,
yeah,
especially vaccinated kids,
yep,
and so it's just a that was the kind of the thing is like if we can do this with plants and oils, let's do that and give people a different option. You know.
yeah. When I made a video about that Barbara O'Neill remedy and put it out there, got crucified for that. I'm a wackadoodle.
Yeah, right.
Regularly, completely attacked for saying that we need to get out in the sun for your health.
Oh,
And that's mind blowing to me, right? I had no idea that I was a quack by saying the sun is good for you and
uh
doesn't
huh.
cause cancer.
Oh,
I do that. But then, Jill, like I break
same.
it down the science behind it. Like I can tell you exactly what's
Right.
going on, but they
Yes.
don't want to hear it, right? Because your dermatologist and optometrist that gets paid when you
Absolutely.
get
We've
those
been so
things tells you
brainwashed.
that's what causes it. So
Absolutely.
let's go into a little bit of that. I love your after sun spritz. I think it's great. I do not put sunscreen on my kids. I want my kids in the sun as much as possible. I homeschool because I'm such a zealot about the light. I think the LEDs and the flares, they're garbage. They're killing our kids.
Yes.
The screens, the phones, all of that stuff, and I lay that out too when I write and
Mm-hmm.
do all those things, right? So
Yep.
what have you seen around the sun and your products like the after sun spray is how do you view the sun in context of the Rowe Casa brand?
Man, that's one I could go on and on. I'm very much on the same page with you. I actually had that conversation yesterday. I was getting my hair trimmed, and there was this olive skinned girl cutting it, and she said something about summertime's coming. I got to put my sunscreen on. I put sunscreen on every 30 minutes, and I looked at her and I said, "Why?" I was like, I'm sure you don't even burn. Like, why are you wearing sunscreen? She was like, I don't know. That's just what we're told to do. And I was like, girl, get out there in the sun. The sun is good for you. Your skin needs, I mean, I went to preaching. So this is so funny that you brought up the sun. People laugh at me too, but I am like, get in the sun, let your skin do what it was made to do it safely. Like, we sell sunscreen because I think people need a safer version of sunscreen. But I tell everyone the rates of skin cancer have risen with the use of sunscreen. That right there was enough to tell me I need to start thinking through this a little differently. Like, that's a whole problem. If you look at that, you're like, why would like they're telling you wear sunscreen to prevent cancer, but you're getting cancer, all kinds of cancers, and you're protecting. I mean, like, I think the sun, in my opinion, is the biggest health giver. Like, I tell
Absolutely.
people, stay in the sun. I'm like, even though we sell sunscreen, I'm like, don't use it very often. Like, if you can get out there and not burn, do it. Like, the only time I'm going to put some sunscreen on is if like I'm at the lake for hours and hours at a time. But I'm usually going to try to just get in the shade or wrap up in a towel. I avoid sunscreen. I'm like, get in the sun. And I tell people to I even go so far, I tell people to quit taking their sunglasses off.
At a
I'm
girl.
like, your eyes need to see the sun. That is what processes and gives tells your body to produce the hormones and chemicals that it needs to protect your skin later in the sun. And to get that morning sunlight, that evening sunlight for your sleep, that's where you're going to get those sleep hormones. I could go on and on about that one because I think we've been so brainwashed. And I tell everybody, I go to a dermatologist yearly just to check my skin, and I am in the skin, I'm tan, and he is like, you have the best skin ever. And I've done this. I have stayed tan since I was in high school. I get in the sun, but it's funny because he's like, you have some of the healthiest skin I've ever seen. And I tell people that I'm like, it is not the sun that is giving us cancer.
Yep.
Okay. It is the stuff you're baking, the stuff you're putting on your skin when you bake in the sun. It is the food you are eating. It is your lifestyle. So the sun, that's a whole thing for me. Yeah. With the sun. I tell people, and I laugh because I always have sunglasses on. I love sunglasses, love them. I used to not be able to walk out in the sun without wearing them before I knew my eyes needed to learn to process the sunlight. Now I love being out there without sunglasses on. And I tell people, 90% of the time they're on top of my head because they're cute, like not because I need to wear them. I want my eyes seeing that sunlight. I want it hitting my bare skin. I don't put anything on my skin other than maybe I like our tanning oil that we have because it's a nice little protectant and also kind of helps you get a nice tan, but it's also nourishing your skin and not damaging your skin and getting into your bloodstream and doing bad things, so I don't think people need to, we've really been brainwashed. Needless to say, I could go on and on about that, but I think we've been totally brainwashed. And honestly, I think the sun is one of the biggest cancer killers. It's one of the biggest body healers. Yeah. I don't think God made a mistake by putting this, ball of fire up there for us. So that, again, every time I come to a realization like that, it takes me back to, wow, what a good God we serve. He knew. We've just been brainwashed to think that was what it was, Absolutely. And I get excited. So.
No, good. It's you're spot on. The skin cancer rates have gone up, right? As more people have been hiding from the sun and covering up, right? Like that makes no sense. There's a direct correlation with low endogenously produced vitamin D levels, right? That's different from supplementing, and skin cancer. Low vitamin D, higher incidence skin cancer. How is that possible if we produce vitamin D from UVB? Right? Makes no sense, right? Like none.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
No, so on to that. When we talk about the sun, we have a gene called POMC, and then it creates melanin, right? So alpha, beta, gamma, MSH. So when we have that, one of the things that we need in order for that to work properly is copper. And y'all just came out with a copper peptide serum. So go into that a little bit because I think it's brand new to my knowledge. I've been using it, so I want to know more from how this came to be.
So with the copper peptide serum, we wanted to really create something that could help you with the aging process, but not, again, be damaging to your skin. And so the copper peptides, and I will say this, we don't hardly ever use synthetic ingredients. The copper peptides are synthetic because you can't really get them naturally. But with all of the testing and it is bioidentical to the body. So we felt comfortable using that. And I'm always upfront about that. I don't want ever to slide something in and not be totally upfront about something. But this is one of the times I feel like the science came through for us with the copper peptides. But that serum it's like my favorite product in the whole face care line. Being able to see the difference in the skin, it's been pretty amazing. And everyone that is tested is like, I can see a complete difference in my skin because I'm very anti-Botox, lip fillers, all the things that people are doing to try to get that glow or that look or that wrinkle-free skin or whatever. I'm very anti that. And so that was kind of our solution for that.
Interesting, because we are super copper deficient as a society, and that we've been scared about. That's the other one that gets me pretty aggravated is that we've been scared about copper, and so I think this is a good time because we're gonna have a lot of people watch this that love Rowe Casa. I want to throw in the whole anemia aspect because this one gets me pretty fired up.
Right,
We are told that we need an iron bolus, right? Like we need to go to the doctor and get an iron bolus. That's why we're anemic. It is absolute insanity. So, like
right,
copper is the key orchestrator of iron metabolism, and we have an
right.
iron deficiency. Or a copper deficiency. So what I have seen over and over and over is the supplementation of copper completely reversing anemia. It it's not
Oh, wow.
it because iron's a big deal, right? This is something that women deal with. I hear about it like all the
Mhm.
time. I'm anemic. I'm anemic. I don't feel good. And simply adding
Right,
copper. Like I'm not saying that your face serum is going to add enough copper for somebody
right,
to reverse anemia, but
right.
it's something that we need to talk about and understand that it's not that we need to shovel iron filings in our cereal and put iron in our veins, right?
Right.
That's nonsense.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, I'm a big supplementer, so I work with a naturopath, and it is amazing just being able to see what your deficiencies are and adding those in from just a supplementing standpoint. And I tell everybody, I don't know that I feel like most people in America need to be supplementing because our food, our soil's depleted. Unless you're, I mean, I know you're like you're doing the whole farm and you're rocking it over there, but many of us are still just eating the stuff out of the grocery stores, and it's not even the organic stuff's not growing in nutritious soil. And I did a little bit of gardening earlier in life and realized how important the soil is. So even when we eat healthy, we're not getting enough of what we need. And so I'm about that, like supplement to make up for those deficiencies when you can't eat it,
Yeah,
makes a
we
huge difference.
being inundated with the glyphosate and bromide, all of the things that are competing with our minerals. Fluoride, that one's garbage. I cannot believe that's controversial. I have learned that we have some very controversial topics that I would have never dreamed were controversial. Recently it's
Right,
autism, right? Like I don't know how trying to figure out what's going on there is controversial, or ivermectin, or raw milk, or Mel Gibson is the most controversial thing that I've ever put on YouTube. About
right.
lost my channel over him. So like I don't understand. I don't understand why all of this is so controversial. And so like, is it really that crazy to say what we buy from a big box store is poisoning us and we need a different option?
No, I realized when went back again, this was part of my nerdy research and doing what I do. When I went back and looked at just how the pharmaceutical and medical system came about, Rockefeller's all, I took it way back and I got real angry because back then they were the wackos.
Yeah,
We were the cool people. We were the people who had it going on and were the smart ones, right? And then there was this whole movement of big pharma medical, doctors coming in and really changing the tide and making the people who lived off the land and did all the things that we're all trying to get back to doing now because we realize we need it. They made that quackery. But we were the ones that's what everyone did. And the doctors and big pharma, that was quackery in the beginning. And so to see how that has shifted and we've lost that, we're not telling that story. So all we know is that it's a pill for every ill. The doctors are God, and da 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 da. And there has been great advances in the medical community, and I don't discount that. It's just we the pendulum was here, and then we've swung here, and now I think everyone's trying to come back somewhere in here.
yeah,
It's just they and that I think that's why we're doing it. I mean, when I told people to quit wearing sunglasses, you would have thought I told everybody to go blind. But again, it's got to start somewhere. And I think it's been very interesting since we started in 2019 and to now 2025 to see the shift in people's minds. I think COVID brought a lot of distrust with people with the medical system, because that's when we saw people really running to natural remedies, and our business really actually blew up because I think people really woke up and started thinking for themselves. And but it's been neat to see how it went from in 2019, it was very much you're the weird one to now, oh, you're the smart one. It's getting better, which is encouraging to see because people are waking up. They're tired of being sick. And now we've got a government coming in that's bringing attention to some of the issues we've been talking about for years, which is great to have. Um, So it's all kind of playing out right before our eyes.
Well, and I'm glad that you keep bringing up the whole sunglasses thing because it is absolutely destroying people's health, and it seems
Yes.
so uh, foreign. Like, how can It's I use the
Right.
analogy like when you touch a stove, you get burnt, and you know that you got burnt by a stove. When you wear
Right.
sunglasses and you block your visual photoreceptors to where your biology doesn't work, it's harder to pinpoint that that's what it is, right? And so that's a
Absolutely.
big deal. I've literally gone on record saying I would rather you smoke cigarettes than wear sunglasses. As
I,
long as you smoke cigarettes out in the sun, you can detox. You
right.
know,
Yeah.
so that's a big deal, Jill. I'm glad you keep bringing that up because that quite possibly the light environment is in my opinion the largest contributor to why we are so sick, and I
Right.
think
I
all
agree.
of these other
I
things
agree.
build on that.
We're just so disconnected from the earth. I mean, I talk about people needing to get barefoot on the earth, and of course now that's dangerous because all the pesticides and whatever's in our yards. But I'm just like, get some grounding shoes. I don't care because people used to walk around in leather shoes, so people were always connected energetically to the earth. It's like everything God created was meant for us to use and to improve our health, and it's so beautiful. But we've gotten so far away from it, and I'm just like, if you're afraid of what's in your yard, put some grounding shoes on. They make those, I'm just
Yeah,
like, find a way, touch a tree, for goodness sake.
yeah,
But whenever you connect to that energy, I just feel like it's also healing. People are like, that's hooky pooky. I'm like, no, it's not. God made us energetic beings with frequencies to connect. And so it's like all of that makes sense to me from a Christian standpoint. And I was always taught that's hooky pooky, that's new age, whatever. No, it's not. It's simply the way God made us, and it's time to get back there, to connect the sun, the earth, the frequencies, the thunderstorms, the lightning. It's all part of the system that He wanted us to be. People used to be connected to that. They, like I said, they walked around in leather shoes. They were outside. They slept outside. They heard the sounds.
yeah.
I mean, just the sounds of the earth can be healing to your body, and we've gotten away from that. We're all indoors, breathing in this indoor toxicity. It's just if you don't make a now that we're so industrialized, if you don't make a conscious effort to get out there, like I think you're doing with your homeschooling and getting them outside, and if you don't make a conscious effort to do it, you're just going to miss it, and you're just going to be sick all the time. Your body is not doing what it's made to do.
Amen. Amen. I often um, end one of my articles with nature has always been the answer and always will be. Right? Like getting more connected how God designed everything. And that shouldn't be even controversial, I don't think. Like the
Right, it's
hubris
not
of
hard.
man to think that we can outdo it, right? Like I have like the
Right.
chroma lights, right? I'm going as
Uh-huh.
on the technology side as close as I can get, right? But I know that's
Right.
not a supplement for the sun.
Right.
You talk about grounding, that is simple biophysics, right? Like
Yes.
it's protons and electrons. That's not even crazy stuff either. You
No,
know,
it's not. But you would think
like
it is when you talk about it. You're a tree hugger. Like, yeah, I'm gonna hug a tree if I'm
yeah,
out in it. I probably am.
it is just wild to me that like the evidence is right there, but because the mainstream media said that
Yes.
vitamin D doesn't affect your immune system and grounding doesn't work, like what?
We believe it and we just follow along like sheep. That's what America does. And it's a problem, but yeah, that's, yeah, I'm right there with you. It's just when you try to just state these things that are just so obvious, it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's out there for people. We've been very brainwashed. Just like, me growing up, I just thought I had 14 pairs of sunglasses growing up. I thought sunglasses were the coolest thing, and they are. I wear them on top of my head. They're super cute. I just don't put them over my eyes because now I know my eyes are processing the sun. And I've seen a drastic difference just since not wearing sunglasses in the sun.
it's huge.
I mean,
It's
it's just,
huge.
it is just it's crazy. And once you experience it, once you kind of mingle in it like I did, and you start to see the life changing results from it, and that is why I believe Rowe Casa has blown up the way it is, because people just dabble in it and they're like, wow, that's a huge change, and there's nothing
Yeah,
bad in that, and it works. And so then they just go on and on, and it's like, what else do I need? What else can I try? And then they want to have something they can trust, because people don't trust right now. I mean, it's been a whole thing since COVID days. And so I once you get in it and you realize the freedom, and that's what it is. I feel like through our message and through what we do, it's more than just products for us. It is empowering people in their health. I can remember growing up and even raising my older kids and always being at the doctor. And it was the craziest thing. The doctors got it wrong so many times. It forced me to question it,
Yeah.
because they would say, do this for this skin condition. They would give me a pamphlet that said, do not do this. But I'm like, the doctor just gave me what this pamphlet they gave me says not to put on it. And I'm like, it's just it's madness. It's complete madness. And you feel, when you're in the medical system and you're running to the doctor pill for every ill and test after test and da da da, you're just chasing this medical pharmaceutical, rabbit hole. You feel so hopeless,
Yeah.
like you don't have any power, like your power is gone. And when you're sick, and we know, I mean, with cancer and our history here,
Yeah.
when you are sick, nothing else matters but being well.
That's
Nothing else
it.
matters. And when you feel hopeless, like even the doctors can't figure this out, and you just it is a really cool thing to be able to see people feeling empowered in their health. Like now, when we get sick, I mean, we're human. We get sick in my house, but I feel so empowered. I'm like, I've got a whole cabinet of just natural remedies and things that I just don't feel like I have to run to the doctor and get the runaround and wait 3 hours and spend a bunch of money and time off of work. I mean, it's just, that system was not working for me anymore. I wanted to feel like I could be empowered to do something for my kids and it not hurt them too, and
Absolutely.
myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and
Empowered.
like this may also be controversial, but the act of getting sick is actually good for us. Like the
Right?
act of building a immune system and having a response such as a fever is actually good for us. And that
Yes, that's
sounds
another
crazy.
one. That's another one we talk about a lot. It's the fevers and letting those fevers do their job. It's our inborn immune system. Like it's what God gave us to fight. So I get that too. And it's that really, that one's one that just, it's hard for me to swallow too. I don't like getting sick. I prefer not to get sick, but it is your build. I've heard, I mean, when you get sick, it is your body's way of fighting. And thank goodness you have an immune system that's fighting for you.
Yeah.
That's what that
So I have four kids, right? Like so when I worked EMS for almost a decade, the oldest one had the stage 4 cancer, that whole journey. Like so I have seen this from so many different ways, and it's like what you said earlier about it's not that I'm anti medicine, right? Not
Right.
like I've seen the miracles, especially trauma
Yeah.
care, right? Like there I've seen a lot of people that I
Yes.
can't believe made it, right?
Absolutely.
But
Right.
let's prevent it. Like I don't want to be in the
I
oncology
want
ward.
to go
How
through that.
how do we avoid that, right? How do we help
Yes.
other people avoid that? You don't want to be there,
Yes.
right? Like you don't
Yes.
ever want to be there. So
No,
uh,
don't.
I think this is a big part of it. And to me, I'll always go back to sunlight's the foundation, like 100%. And y'all can say I'm a wackadoodle all you want, that it causes cancer. It's nonsense. That is the most healing thing. But the other aspect is like what we're living in, what we're coating our bodies. I think back to Lander and when he was undergoing chemo, a couple things I feel like got lucky with, right, was one, I let him be a kid and play outside. That
Yeah.
was, I think that was, I never told him he was sick. Two, we supplemented magnesium. We did
Oh,
a lot of Epsom salt baths. Coated
good.
his little body in jojoba oil, right? Like
Right.
I formulated a special thing for him, right?
Awesome.
And so many times it was just like, wow, his port looks amazing. Oh, his skin looks great. Oh, his little bald head, like he's not cracking. Oh, he's not having neuropathy. He's not having the issues that we see. And I was like, why don't y'all ask what we're doing? Why don't you care? And so we can tell other
Right.
people, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine the success stories or just the heartfelt things that you get, those messages. Do you have any that just kind of pop to mind on just honestly, I feel like it's moms. Moms tend to be the warriors. Like, moms of autistic kids.
Yes.
That they're just warriors. And so, what? Give us
Yes.
something to feel good about.
I think the most miraculous thing that I've experienced with Rowe Casa in this business has been all of the babies that we've been able to help be born. Um, I can remember my sister came in with a lot of hormone knowledge. That was not something that I had or was interested in. Hormones are like, they just, that's a lot right there. But she's into that. So when she joined and her husband joined us, she came in and she was like, we need to create this blend that will support women's hormones. And I was like, great idea. So we got together, we did that. And as soon as it came out, within, the next 2 to 3 months, I kept getting, this was when we were really small. This was one of the pea boost, which used to be called the hormone drops. That was one of our first products. It was in the top 10 or top like 10 or 20 products that we came out with, because we knew women's hormones was a whole thing. We hated all the women being on birth control, and there was a lot of women not being able to get pregnant, but never did I dream it would happen the way it did. So when we launched it, it was just, hey, if your hormones are imbalanced, this will help. That's kind of how we approached it, very vague. My community, of course, everyone in the community bought it, started using it. I was still doing speech therapy. This was before I even dropped the other jobs and Rowe Casa had taken over. And I can remember driving from, patient to patient. And I started getting texts from friends of mine that had been trying to have kids for years and they were pregnant. And I was like, hold up, what? And she was like, yeah, I've tried for 7 years and I've tried for 3 years and I'm pregnant because I started y'all's hormone drops. And I was like, what's going on? So I remember after about the fourth text, I got my phone out, got my notes, and I said, I better start keeping a list of this. This is becoming a whole thing. This is like baby 7. And I was like, so I started making a list. So I didn't start keeping count till around baby 4. And then it was like 5, 6, 7, and then it kept growing. And I was like, sis, what is happening? She was like, Jill, these women are not being able to get pregnant because their hormones are imbalanced and no one's telling them how to balance them. And this one drop with plant-based oils was balancing their hormones and making them fertile again. We had women who had been through IVF, who had done, but just been told they'll never have kids, getting pregnant. And so now we've got over 1,000 Rowe Casa babies. And that's just the ones that have emailed in. All because we put this little plant-based oil blend together and they start using them and it works. That to me has been the most miraculous thing, just being able to see people be able to create new life. I can't imagine. I've got 3 kids of my own that I've birthed, and I've always been pretty fertile, so I can't imagine the pain that must be like, to not be able to have children.
Yeah.
And so being able to see women do that. There was one lady that had tried for 17 years. And I even know her name. I'm friends with her on Facebook. But she got pregnant using our hormone. And I just thought, this is the coolest thing I've ever been a part of.
That is amazing.
It just to see, because I know God's about new life and being able to just kind of be a part of that in a small sense. But this is a big deal to so many people. And watching those stories come through and the tears that women have cried, that to me is probably the coolest part of all of this. Just watching women, again, being empowered and their bodies working the way they should. And we're made to have babies. So it was pretty cool. It's been pretty cool to watch.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that. So let's go a little bit into y'all's baby line then, because if y'all are having more babies due to that, let's talk about what we're putting on those little
Yes,
ones.
we got to take care of the babies now. Well, much to my surprise, when I started researching the products on the shelf, the baby products were some of the most toxic products on the market. And that was mind blowing to me, because I can remember like using with my older kids. I've got a 22 and 19-year-old. And so when they were, and a 4-year-old, so, I'm doing this thing all over again. But I can remember when they were little using Draft and thinking I was doing some kind of good. And it's like one of the most toxic products on the market. And it is pushed for babies. And so that's what's touching the baby's skin after you. I'm a big like skin barrier, bloodstream. Like this is the whole thing, guys. So when I realized, of course, baby products, like we got out there as soon as we could, because I knew, just doing the little research and looking at the Johnson and Johnson and the madness with just that company alone and the things they support and do, just beat the talc and the baby powder. It was very overwhelming realizing that our babies were being poisoned by these products from such an early age. And so we had to have a baby line. It was like, we need something gentle, something that works, something mamas can trust, because that's super stressful as a mom when you have an infant. It's like you don't know what to trust. You're being told 1,000 different things. And so this just made it, our baby products just make it really easy. And what is so great, they work. Like it's great if it's natural, but that was my whole thing when all this started. I was like, natural's great, but it's not going to work. Like that, I had the same mindset everyone else has coming into using more natural products. That's great, but it's not going to be effective. I was determined to prove that wrong once I got started. I was like, it's going to not only be safe, but it's going to be effective, or I'm not going to sell it. That was just kind of where I stood. So until we get a formula together that's going to work and be effective, I'm not putting it out there, because who wants to waste their money? I mean, yeah, we want to be safe, but we also want it to work. And I was like, I really feel like we can do this. We can make both happen.
I've
So
been
with the baby
uber
products, that was a
impressed with
big part of our
everything
mindset.
that y'all have put out. Like it's been phenomenal. And
Thank
again, kind
you.
of how we started it. I put it off, put it off, put it off. But we are so happy to partner with y'all. It's just been incredible,
Oh,
and I had no idea. You've referred a couple times to the community, right? Y'all have a strong,
yeah.
just just strong, rabid fan base, right? Really, like it is. They
We
love
really
you.
do. We laugh about that. They're very committed. They're very
I,
committed, and I'm so appreciative of that.
yeah, so it's just
They,
been cool, and
I just think when people find a way to get empowered, they are on it. They're in it to win it, and that's what we want to do. We're just like a family. It's like jump on this train with us and let's get this right. Like we've got to do better, and it feels good to do better. And I
It
think they
feels
get
good to
that.
help people. It feels
It
good
does.
to just see so much suffering and pain and be able to alleviate even
Absolutely.
part of it, right? Like it's a big deal. It's what
Right.
motivates me. So
Yeah.
let's go into a couple of the biggest offenders of things we need to be aware of, whether that's laundry detergent or lotions, or what do you think are the biggest things? Just hey, pay attention to these.
In my opinion, the false fragrance is to me the biggest offender as far as outside of the food we eat. When you think about body care products or things you're breathing in, false fragrance is everywhere and it is making us so ill. And the problem with false fragrance is almost every product you use is going to have the term fragrance on it. So I tell everyone, if it has the term fragrance on it, chunk it, because it's an umbrella term for thousands of different chemicals. Not all false fragrances are deemed bad. And there are some companies now like Dime and different places, they're disclosing their fragrances so that you can look them up and see that they're safe. They're still synthetic, but if you want a perfume every now and then and you want it to be safe, great. I am just about full disclosure. But the false fragrance is it is an umbrella term. It is in laundry detergents, it's in your candles, it's in everything, the wall plug-in. I mean, everywhere you go, once you get away from false fragrance, you kind of it's hard to even live life. You just got to kind of take a deep breath and relax a little bit about it, because it's in everything. It's in every body product, it's in every deodorant, it's in body wash, it's in your kids products, it's in everything you're breathing. So for me, just getting rid of false fragrance in your home, and I tell people, do what you can control. Like, you can control your home. When you travel, you're probably going to be breathing some toxic chemicals in. Oh, well, God gave us organs to detox. Don't stress is toxic too. That's what I tell everybody. Like, if you're traveling and you can't even enjoy it because they got a wall plug in, well, you're stressing and you're just as toxic as anybody else. So you're gonna have to learn to relax a little bit. We're not gonna do this thing perfectly, and we wouldn't have a liver and kidneys and all of the detox organs if God expected us to do it perfectly. So just be glad He thought of that and live your life. But you can control what's in your home and what you're doing. That's what I worry about day in and day out. What are my kids living in? What are we doing on a day-to-day basis? That's what I can control. That's what I don't have to stress about. I can just eliminate. The false fragrance to me is probably was the biggest game changer for me. And my sister used to tell me, and I laughed at her for a couple of years, because like I said, I was the Scentsy queen. I had all the wax melts going in every room. I loved it. But once I got rid of it, that was another game changer for me and my family, with the breathing and the asthma and the sinuses. We had all that. So to me, that's one of the biggest offenders.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It is absolutely everywhere, isn't it? Everywhere. And even, you said that, and I think a lot of our Epsom salt baths have got that junk in there too. And I think
Oh,
that's
absolutely. Yeah.
that may be why I like yours so much. Like y'all have it's like a sinus one that I love.
We
Just I
do.
like the smell of it, so I'm always putting the kids in that just so we get
Yes.
the smell. So go into a
Right.
little bit of that as we wrap up the baths, the detox baths. How do you view that kind of that time of just kind of relaxing, dealing with stress, detox, mentally, emotionally, and physically?
Right. Well, it's just amazing. I mentioned the false fragrances, and so what we've done is alternate that, take that out, and use plant-based fragrance. So, amazingly enough, God gave us all these plants that have all these different scents, and they're actually really good. Who knew that He had that covered when we decided to lab make all these fragrances. It's like, wow, like when you smell all the essential oils we have, you're just like, whoa, okay, and it's making me feel better, not worse. I'm not getting a headache, and it's just so great. But just even the detox, everything you soak in. So if you're sitting in a bath, so I'm big on water filtration and things like that too. But just you have to think about what are you soaking in. So these salts are going to bring in minerals that your body needs. Our detox bath salts have the bentonite clay, which grabs on to heavy metals and can help you detox that out. I believe everything you soak in your skin, it's going to get it goes right into your bloodstream eventually. And so it's a big deal what we're soaking in, and that's where those bath salts come in. Why not soak in stuff that's going to improve my health instead of damage my health? A lot of that stuff you're soaking, it's got the false fragrance, it's got harmful chemicals, toxic, preservatives that are unnecessary for stuff like that. It's just you're soaking in that, and eventually it gets into your bloodstream and wreaks havoc on all your systems. So that's kind of the thought process behind just even the bath salts and things like that.
Yeah, well, the bath salts are wonderful. That's one of our kind of favorite things, and we do them. I don't know if you can do it too much, but we do it pretty
Oh,
regular. So, what's next for Rowe
oh
Casa?
yeah, we love them too.
What's next on the plans? You got the
Oh
big
man.
big goals. What's next?
Okay, so we've got a lot. We've got a long list. I don't know how much I can disclose. I did reveal that, we did phase one of the face care. There is a phase two. So I know I can disclose that because I've already told the masses about that. So this was kind of and you'll notice the face care has a new branding style. We printed on the jars. We put boxes around. They're really bougie looking. You can see some new rebranding. We've realized people like the whole experience, so we've I told everybody in the beginning it was about helping people. It was not about being cute. But now we're helping people. The products are good. Now we can kind of focus on being cute. Okay. Being cute was not on my radar. If you knew us from the beginning, I mean, I used to print my own labels and they would literally like drip in the shower. The ink wasn't even waterproof. It was so bad. So we have come a long way. So you can see, you'll notice some rebranding coming. So just, giving our customers that feel good experience with the way things look, which is so minor, but it was not priority, but has become more of a priority as we grow. And we've got a face care phase two coming where there's a few more products we wanted to perfect. And so we've been working on that. So those will move in to the scene. Let me think if there's anything else I can disclose. There's quite a few things up our sleeves, so stay tuned for sure. But I don't think I can say it yet. But we're working on a lot of really fun things that, all I really do is look to see, is there a need and how can I meet it? So we really at Rowe Casa wanted to become a one-stop shop. Because there's nothing more annoying than having to get all of your health and non-toxic stuff from 14 places, because I've done that. And so when I started the business, it was like I was told from business people, you only need to have 2 or 3 products or you're going to destroy your business. And I just laughed in their face. I was like, ha, okay, well, that's not happening because everything I'm using is toxic and I need a replacement. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm just going to make a really bad business decision, I guess. But it has actually worked out for us because ends up people just kind of want that one-stop shop. It's
Yeah.
easy. It's easy to just go to one place and just get what you need. And I'm sure, your store probably provides a lot of that, being people can come and just get everything they need. because the health journey can be a little overwhelming. So I think you're going to see a lot more fun product lines coming. I will say that. So yeah, that's all I can say. I think.
All right, good for y'all. Good for y'all. I'm
You know, I
excited
know
to
how hard
see
it is
what's
to not
next.
give it all out there, but I will be in
Very good.
trouble.
Don't get in trouble. We have to have that anticipation. So, Jill,
Right.
thank you so much for your time and all the hard
Thank
work
you,
and
Logan.
sacrifices and everything y'all done. It's a big deal knowing that we can trust a company, trust a brand, and that means a lot. So, thank you,
Thank
my
you.
friend.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.